What is beauty? What is courage? What gives one strength to inspire? Let's talk Women Talk.
Pinkie is one of many young Cambodian patriots working tirelessly to further the country. Choosing to work from Cambodia instead of abroad, Pinkie now declares her love for her homeland by empowering its citizens with a very important tool, knowledge.
Well, Pinkie, thank you so much for spending this day with us. I've heard so much about you and was really looking forward to the interview. Now, I understand that you grew up in a refugee camp. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was like and how has that made you the person that you are today?
I don't remember very much because I was about maybe 4 years and a half when I came back. But I do remember bits and pieces of memories, and some are more vivid than others. More relevant to who I am today is the memories of seeing my father working with the Red Cross Health Center at the camp. So sometimes it took us to the health center and we got to see other people, and there's some expats and some local people, some Thai people. And what I saw is that our communities of people who are very much care about other and involved in helping other. And for me, none of people from the UN, from the Thai government, or anyone who involved in humanitarian work then knew my family or other family in the camp, and they did not owe us anything. But they did help us, and for me, I see that as something quite touching. And I do want to be able to do something when I grow up, to give back and to be helpful to someone.
Now, I know that you fought very hard for your education. Tell us a little bit about that.
My father and my mother are very big into education, and because their personal life experience is just very different, and they had to fight for their own education, formally or informally, mostly informally, and that's how they taught us to be, all of my siblings, including myself. My father was the only one in his family to be able to find work besides being a farmer. He didn't think that his choices, life choices, was only limiting to becoming a farmer. So then he taught himself English, and then for every single NGO job that he worked on, he basically taught himself the skill that's needed to work on that job. The same way he taught himself to be a nurse assistant. And my mother, on the other hand, was very strong and rebellious and feisty, and she was a part of this quite influential and big and well-off family before the genocide. But then they didn't want her to go to school. She attended school for a few days, and then they took her back. But she would try to sneak in a book into the kitchen every time and taught herself to read. She doesn't know how to write, but she can read, and she's probably one of the few older women that read a lot that I know. So then her idea was that she would do everything in her power to make sure that her children have education, especially her daughter, so that they'll have choices, so that they'll be independent, so that they can be the master of their own mind.
Now, how do you end up going overseas to study? How did that happen?
My plan was to finish high school, try to get some really good grades so that I can apply for a scholarship to study here in Phnom Penh. But then this one day, our school headmaster came in with some papers and advertisement for the United World College Scholarship. And he wasn't really sure what that scholarship entailed either. He just said, oh, someone passed the paper over, you guys should look at it and apply. I did then got the scholarship, and then another one later.
Now we have a question from one of our viewers, Monisa Sharma, and she asks you, what was it like being overseas or working overseas that made you want to come back to Cambodia, and how is working from within different?
And I went to interview for a research assistant position, but during the interview I realized that I was still thinking of all these issues and policy in terms of Cambodia. I came from a Cambodian perspective, and for them, they were looking at it from a US perspective. And for me, it was kind of an alarm bell that goes off and say, Pinkie, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And are you sure this is the best time to spend your next couple of months and then maybe a year doing? And the answer was pretty much clearly no. Once I came back and worked, I realized that for someone who works in Cambodia, the difference between working in Cambodia and working overseas is that you create different kind of communities. And for overseas, if you're working overseas, you're pretty much connected with people who might share your interests professionally and your passion, But it's the people element that's important, and here you're not only working, and for me I'm not only working and to do things that I like and that I want, but I'm also connected with other young Cambodian professionals who share very similar interests and passion and issues, and who's able to share their experience with me and my experience with them. So this idea of building a community and learning from each other, and also these issues of strengthening the capacity building is very important.
You work for an organization called Open Development Cambodia. Tell us a little bit about your work with them and what does it entail and why is this important?
It's sort of a cutting edge between an open data platform and a data journalism platform. The only difference is that we don't make commentaries, we don't draw conclusions. We leave that to the user, to our reader, to draw conclusion. So what we do is that we collect data and information on 15 different topics around social, environmental and economic development in Cambodia. The reason why we do that is that in Cambodia there are emerging and ongoing trends, ongoing development trends that might not be very healthy for the citizen. Some of those are, some of those aren't. The idea is that how do we move information and data into the public domain so that people can get access to this information and make better decisions about what they do in terms of development, and hopefully that will influence better decision making and governance as well. I see social media as a democratized tool for people to voice their opinions and concerns. And in a country where media is still quite limiting and traditional media only do certain parts of what it's supposed to do, then social media combined together with journalism would be a great way of getting the information out and trying to get people interacted with the thought process and dealing with some research questions and so on.
What is your hope for Cambodia? Well, at least in the next 5 years.
I do hope that education system will improve because I'm quite a big believer in how education gives people freedoms and empowerment. And it's a very big topic because it has to do with human resource and capacity development and so on. And with better people, I think we can just make things much easier. So one hope is that the education sector will be better, will be more improved. Secondly, I do hope that political system is a bit more stable, and then we can move on from arguing so much to start implementing some real changes. And then thirdly, for the field work that I'm doing, I do hope that people are catching up with technology, and technology is also understanding people and try to make better solutions and better products for people to use.
Pinkie, what is empowerment to you?
Empowerment to me is a combination of three things. It's opportunity, it's trust, and it's support. And in the centers of all those three things, I think education must be the central point.
Thank you so much. I mean, I really admire your dedication to the work, and what a great example you are for all the youth of Cambodia. Thank you.
Pinkie is a critical thinker who inspires others to venture new grounds. She's an example of Cambodian youths striving to bring the best out of their homeland.